This time on Body Bazaar.
Becca, come try and get up.
A British woman whose condition makes her vomit up to 100 times a day suffers a serious setback.
Something that never happened before. Rebecca's heart just stopped.
An American teenager who wasn't expected to survive birth fights for surgery so she can find her own voice.
It might be easier to speak socially than speak on the iPad because it takes a while to type my answers.
And can doctors find a cure for a Brazilian man whose life has been taken over by a rare viral disease?
Também elas começou de uma só, e eu não sabia o que era. Aí começou a nascer, né? Eu cortava aquela, maior que tinha, ao redor daquela nasceu bocado.
Their afflictions are rare and mysterious, but with modern medicine and the power of love, they fight back. These are stories of astonishing human courage, a powerful passion for life. In the countryside to the west of London sits Maidenhead, a large town which dates back to the Roman era.
What do you mean, who wants bread with their sandwich?
Question, toast, bread, toasty. Do you want bagels? Dad, do you want a sandwich or?
Living here so she can be cared for by her family is 31-year-old Rebecca Griffiths.
I first started vomiting in November 2013 and no one knew how to stop it.
Seriously, just don't rush, okay? You know how bad it gets.
Rebecca has a crippling condition that means she is sick up to 100 times a day.
I don't think I'm going to be able to eat that.
No?
You can have it. I can't eat, I can't drink. I'm basically just lying down on the sofa with a blanket and a sick ball, and that has been my life every other day for the last 5 years.
Rebecca suffers from an extreme case of cyclical vomiting syndrome, which means she ends up in A&E at least twice every week.
It's completely stopped my life.
As Rebecca's body struggles to cope, a German specialist is offering her a make-or-break surgery.
I'm not sure exactly how much they will be able to help, but I have to try. I can't carry on the way things are.
The eldest of 6 children, Rebecca loved the outdoors and was always full of energy.
I really loved everything, especially at school. I did every activity that there was going. I used to show jump for Wales from the age of 9 all the way up to 16. So this is an incredibly important picture to me. This was the Royal International Championships, and I would have been 10 or 11 in this picture.
Despite being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes before university, Rebecca excelled, and after graduating, moved to London to begin work as a management consultant.
I've always just wanted to be successful at whatever I do, and it doesn't matter what that is. I just want to do it well, and I feel now that I can't do anything well. I can't do anything at all.
Rebecca's career ground to a halt when she had a series of vomiting episodes.
I started to really struggle with a bout of horrendous nausea and vomiting. And it lasted 5 days and the doctors didn't know what to do.
Initially treated with anti-nausea tablets and fluids, Rebecca was eventually diagnosed with a rare condition, cyclical vomiting syndrome, or CVS.
It started off as maybe 5 days in a month, and then it progressed until last year when it got to the point that I was hospitalised every other day.
CVS is characterised by recurring episodes of nausea and vomiting, but it is unknown what causes the physical disorder. Rebecca's case is so severe that her cycle recurs almost daily. The vomiting makes her so dehydrated that after an episode, she's lethargic and unresponsive. needing full-time care from her parents, as she does today.
It'll be for hours like this. Because she's upstairs in bed when this is like this. You don't normally have her down here in the chair. She's asleep now. Brilliant. I haven't got a sick ball out. I'm not worrying about all the problems associated with the vomiting, but I've got another set of problems.
Because Rebecca has type 1 diabetes, when she is dehydrated, her blood sugar levels rise, putting her at risk of going into a diabetic coma.
Her sugars were quite high this morning. Fluids will help bring those down. I'll give her some more insulin, and I need to hydrate her.
In the last year, the combined impact of the CVS and the diabetes has seen Rebecca end up in A&E over 80 times. Desperate to avoid another emergency, her mum is feeding a saline solution into Rebecca's main vein through a permanently inserted intravenous tube.
That is now pumping the sodium hydrochloride straight through into her veins, and that'll help hydrate her. So that's the insulin. So in a half an hour, I'll check her sugars again.
The shot of insulin should help bring Rebecca's sugar levels down and also increase her respiration rate, which her mum is constantly monitoring.
If her breathing's poor, I will start getting worried, and I know that she'll need oxygen, and I need to go to the hospital.
It's a daily battle for Rebecca's parents to keep her stable. And despite countless tests, medics in the UK have not been able to find any kind of cure.
The one thing we've learnt with Rebecca in general, which is scary to us, is that cyclical vomiting is an area where there is just a massive amount of ignorance within the medical profession.
But hope has come from Germany, where a surgeon believes that Rebecca's vomiting could be stopped with surgery.
He said, look, we can't be 100% sure this is going to solve all Rebecca's problems, because beeps coming from everywhere.
The alarm is a warning that Rebecca's heart rate has slowed to dangerous levels.
That's sort of 8 to 9. She should be 12 to 15. Becca, can you try and drink this? Becca? Try. Becca? Becca, can you try? Drink. No, it's all down the chin.
Rebecca has had to be taken to A&E so many times over the last 5 years that her parents know not to panic.
No, I think we might call an ambulance, actually.
But it's not normal for Rebecca to be so unresponsive.
Okay, I'll put you on speaker. Becca, I've got to get you up. Becca?
Concerned, the emergency services have asked for Rebecca to be moved into the recovery position.
Lovely, thank you. Thanks, bye. Right, well, the ambulance is coming fast, apparently. So if there's one close, they'll probably be here in a few minutes.
Just as the ambulance arrives, the unthinkable happens.
And in the end time, when I went out of the room, she stopped breathing. On the side.
Something that never happened before. Rebecca's heart just stopped. And thankfully, Caroline spotted it straight away. And literally within the space of a few seconds, the ambulance arrived. Very sorry. Oh, sorry.
Performing CPR, the paramedics work quickly to restart Rebecca's heart.
Was she complaining?
No, but she's on lots of medication and she's diabetic. But her sugars are only about 10 point something. She hasn't had any medication this morning at all. She is breathing herself now. They're not happy because her heart is still very slow. That has given me a huge shock and made me realise I don't know why that happened.
As Rebecca is rushed to hospital, she is breathing, but not out of danger. Still to come, following her cardiac arrest, life or death surgery for Rebecca.
If she comes through this and she is considerably better, it will be a dream come true.
An American teenager who wasn't expected to survive birth fights for surgery so she can find her own voice.
There's a tumor inside of my face that causes me to not eat or talk to.
And can doctors find a cure for a Brazilian man whose everyday life has been taken over by a rare viral disease?
Para comer, eu já pego a colher, a gente assim, dois dedos segurando com os dedos assim.
"31-year-old diabetic Rebecca Griffiths suffers from a little understood condition called cyclical vomiting syndrome, which makes her sick up to 100 times a day. Recently, after a severe bout of sickness, her heart stopped beating.
And in the end time, when I went out of the room, she stopped breathing.
Saved by paramedics, Rebecca was rushed to hospital.
It has given me a huge shock. I don't know why that happened.
Rebecca's condition had made her vulnerable to infection, and her heart stopped because of a severe blood poisoning, so she was kept in for a month of intensive care. It's now 6 weeks since the cardiac arrest.
The cyclical vomiting wouldn't have contributed completely to it, but trying to treat the cyclical vomiting is where we've had the problem. I feel fine now, breathing and my heart's beating, but for other people around it must have been petrifying. You should just take enough for...
Rebecca is used to being in hospital. She's ended up in A&E over 80 times in the last year. This last episode was the most serious, and she can't afford for it to happen again. So now, in a race against time, she's travelling to Germany for surgery that could stop her cycle of vomiting.
So far, what they've said is that even if they can't stop the cyclical vomiting completely, the operation will dramatically improve my quality of life. So that's what we're aiming for.
In Düsseldorf, Professor Sandmann is one of the world's leading surgeons for complex vascular diseases. Having studied recent ultrasounds, he believes that Rebecca's vomiting is caused by one of two significant compressions of her major blood vessels.
The problem is that the vomiting is caused by the compression of the superior artery in her abdomen, which is the celiac trunk.
The celiac trunk is a major arterial junction that supplies blood to the stomach, liver, and all upper abdominal organs. Rebecca's celiac trunk is being squeezed shut by a ligament, so the flow of blood is restricted.
Actually, a lot of blood is needed for these organs, and if this blood is not running all the time, then pain arises.
The area around the celiac trunk is known as the solar plexus. It's a cluster of sensitive nerve endings, and Rebecca's has become irritated and inflamed due to the compression. Pain in this area can make you retch and vomit.
This initiation of vomiting can be started, and it is difficult for the patient herself to stop it.
Professor Sandmann believes that the squeezing of Rebecca's celiac trunk is the root cause of her vomiting. He hopes that by opening up the artery in surgery, he can change Rebecca's life.
Well, if the operation is successful, then she will stop vomiting. To which extent, we don't know. It is very probable that she will get substantially better.
The complex surgery involves working with major blood vessels, so it's essential that Dr. Sandmann has a detailed view of Rebecca's vascular system. By injecting a specialist contrast liquid into Rebecca's veins,
Please breathe in and hold your breath.
This CT scan of her torso will give a 3D view of her blood vessels and organs on the computer.
These are the 3D pictures where we see the vessels we are interested in, because the surgeon needs to know the situation he's going to get in when he opens the body. And by this he really has a 3D impression in which angle the vessels are leaving the main vessel and in which relation the vessels are lying to each other. And so it's easier for him to plan his operation.
It's 7 a.m. and Rebecca is starting her day, as she has done many times over the last 5 years.
It's surgery day, finally. Had a night again of vomiting lots and lots. Hopefully, after last night, I won't have another night like that again, if all goes well. So, fingers crossed that it works.
Surgery involving the blood vessels is incredibly risky. But as Rebecca is wheeled through to theatre, she's only thinking positive thoughts.
Upstairs on the side is my book that has my grand plans for 2018.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start doing that when I come out. You can bring it down to recovery.
To meet you. All right, fine. You'll be fine. Look at all those happy faces going to meet you in there now. Look for them.
Yeah, it's so kind. It's really happy.
If she comes through this, she is considerably better. It would be a dream come true.
I will give you now some oxygen, okay?
Yeah.
Over the mask. You feel a little bit woozy.
Yeah.
And good night.
Once in theatre, Professor Sandmann makes the first incision just below Rebecca's belly button. To reach the celiac trunk, Rebecca's intestines first need to be moved out of the way. The compression on Rebecca's celiac trunk is caused by one of the aortic ligaments pressing down, like an elastic band, on the blood vessel junction. To relieve the pressure, Professor Sandmann is cutting away and removing the obstructive part of the ligament. Once the ligament is cut away, the celiac trunk opens and blood is able to flow freely to all Rebecca's abdominal organs. In 3.5 hours, the surgery is complete.
Rebecca, open your eyes. Operation's all finished. It's time to wake up now. Can you open your mouth? Open your mouth. All done. All done.
Darling, how you feeling? No, surprisingly not too bad. It was a bit painful, but I think that's to be expected.
Just 24 hours after surgery and still in intensive care, Rebecca has a nasogastric tube for feeding, but has not been sick.
Feeling a little bit nauseous, but it's not the same as the nausea that I usually have. And the doctors have said that it's probably just the nausea that comes along with pain relief. So I'm not too worried about that at all. But yeah, hopefully it will stop within the next day or so.
Rebecca will be kept in hospital for at least 2 weeks to monitor her condition. But will she make a full recovery? Ipu is a small remote community in the state of Ceará in northeastern Brazil. 6 hours away from the state capital, it's a quiet farming community. 50-year-old Luis Betzera da Silva has lived here all his life.
Eu cheguei até esse médico e me deu confiança, garantia, né? Tô com fé de tá bom, né?
31-year-old Rebecca Griffiths suffers from cyclical vomiting syndrome, which has seen her admitted to hospital over 80 times in a year. She recently travelled to Germany for an urgent operation. Vascular surgeon Professor Sandmann believed that by releasing pressure on a major arterial junction above Rebecca's stomach, he could help stop her vomiting. Now back home, it's 6 weeks since the surgery. Rebecca still suffers bouts of nausea and sickness, but the cycle of vomiting has been hugely reduced.
I am still being sick, but apparently this is quite normal, and it's going to take a while for the body to adapt to such a massive operation and such massive changes. I have had more good days than bad days, so I really do feel like we're getting somewhere, but I know it's going to take time, and when I have bad days, I have to remember not to be disheartened and not to think that it hasn't worked, but just remember that I am having more good days and that I can do more and more as time goes on.
Where's Mum? Go on then. Go on.
As a type 1 diabetic, Rebecca still needs an intravenous tube attached to rehydrate her on bad days. But being able to eat means that she's now more able to control her glucose levels.
I love strawberries. I eat strawberries all day long, but you gotta be careful because they got quite a lot of sugar in. I can enjoy food again, which is the first time in years and years I've been able to eat without worrying that I'd be sick within the next 10 minutes. This is my hat. I can actually see the cobwebs. Oh my gosh.
In the last 5 years, Rebecca has barely had the energy to leave the house. But now she is feeling stronger, and her first goal is to get back on a horse.
I've been riding since I was sort of 18 months old, and it's been very hard being away from the horses and just constantly being stuck in the hospital bed. Right. I'm feeling so much stronger than I can remember, so we're just going to cheat a bit getting on because I don't have stomach muscles or any muscles at the moment. So I'm going to get on for a log. Hopefully that's going to work. If not, I'm going to get someone to give me a leg up and shoot me over the top. Right. There we go, back in the saddle.
Although Rebecca is keen to move forward, doctors believe that it could take over a year before she and her parents will know the full extent of the success of the surgery.
I'm actually slightly cautious because, it's sort of, one doesn't want to be over-optimistic and then fall flat in your face. You've got to do rehab and get strong and make everything work again. It's going to be a while till she properly recovers. But, we're heading in the right direction and I feel much, much better.
Rebecca has been unable to even sit on a horse for over 3 years. So as today is a good day, she's determined to make the most of it.
Might look a bit strange and like I'm in pain, but I'm having a lot of fun. Where did he go? All right, Paul. I was working very long days some days and working from home on other days when it wasn't quite so busy. I was living in Fulham with lots of other graduates, all doing similar jobs in the city, and we had a lot of fun.
As Rebecca is a type 1 diabetic, medics initially put her sickness down to a diabetes-related issue.
I have a condition called gastroparesis, and it means that there's very slow transit of food through your body. So my stomach used to fill up and fill up and fill up until I got to the top and there was no room for anything else. And then I'd be sick and I'd completely empty my stomach.
If the problem was the gastroparesis, Rebecca would have stopped vomiting when her stomach was empty, but she didn't.
I didn't really get to see her for days. I was complete.
The quality of the pictures is good, and the diagnosis is a very tricky diagnosis. We have to make measurements, and that will take some time, and we do that together with the surgeon.
The whole idea of now getting through each day without horrendous vomiting and the nausea that comes with it, it's amazing that I now have hope.
Rebecca will be kept in hospital for at least 2 weeks to monitor her condition. But will she make a full recovery?
I think the first thing I need to remember now is to pace myself, because I am feeling so much better in between that I feel like I can run and climb a mountain, which is what I used to do.